Welcome to this week's edition of Hockey Unfiltered, the podcast with Ken Campbell. I am the sidekick to Ken. I am Dylan Waugh. I am the Adam Cartwright to Ken's Ben Cartwright. That's because he said he was taking a horse and buggy over here. So, yeah, I thought I'd play up that theme a little bit. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at Ken_Campbell27, at _Dylan Waugh, and of course, at Hockey No Filter. Reviews are appreciated. So I didn't really say what we were doing in this episode in the intro because I thought it was so painfully obvious.
Way to bury the lead, bud.
Yeah, but like, you know, you're listening to a podcast about hockey means that normally puts you in the upper percentile of hockey fans, right? You're not the casual, I'm flipping through the channels and there's hockey on TV. So if you're listening to that podcast Monday morning, which is when it's going to come out, we're recording Sunday night. If you're listening to this podcast Monday morning and you know that playoffs are starting Monday night, like, I think you can take an educated guess as to what this podcast is about.
It's not a big leap.
Yeah, it's not a huge leap of logic.
Right.
Right.
So let's get into the World Championships then.
Let's get into the let's talk about the OHL draft. Let's go round for round, all 15 of them.
Sure. 303 guys picked.
Do you ever have those moments? So
and there's going to be a guy in the Hall of Fame who wasn't picked in the last 2 days in the OHL draft. I guarantee it.
Do you know who?
No, he's playing like
Junior C.
No, he might be playing Junior C.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But some kid who didn't get picked this weekend is going to be in the Hall of Fame. So
shout out for a quick second, if I may, just proud little moment.
Okay.
Jeremiah Brissett is a good friend of mine's son.
Okay.
And he's going into his U16 AAA, meaning that he will be eligible for the OHL draft next year or this coming year.
Well, good luck to Jeremiah.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
He trains with, another shout out, Rayne Carnegie.
Wow.
And I went, there's no way that he's related to Herb, is it?
Yeah, it's his grandson.
It's his grandson.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
His grandson's training players in Ajax.
Excellent.
Yeah. The same rink that I'm looking to train some goalies out of. One of us has a very interesting pedigree. The other one has a name that kind of sounds like a famous goalie.
Yeah.
Not quite the same thing. Shall we jump right into it?
We shall.
All right. We're going to go east-west, east-west. This is in the same order that it's written on the NHL website. So we didn't pick your team first because we like you guys and we don't hate you guys and all the rest of it.
We hate you.
Oh, well, we do. There's enough room in our hearts for the hate.
Yeah.
And
it's like Gordon Gekko in Wall Street. Why do you have to wreck everything? Because it's wreckable.
So we're going to start off with the Florida Panthers versus the Washington Capitals. Tell me what you are thinking about for the Florida Panthers versus the Washington Capitals.
Well, what I'm thinking about is that I'm not going to overthink this series. I'm not overthinking the series. I'm sorry.
You're familiar with the term galaxy brain?
No. Why does it sound like there's a tornado going on behind us?
Oh, it's pouring rain outside.
Oh, okay.
It just started dumping rain, and it sounds bizarre because it's a soundproofed building.
Yeah,
Anyways, all good. I will cut that part out.
Okay.
Maybe.
Or you can leave it in, whatever.
I'll leave it in.
Anyways.
The look of shock and confusion on our face.
What's the galaxy brain thing?
Oh, it's where you spend so much time trying to overthink something, right? It's like if you've got...
by over-analysis?
Right.
Sort of thing? Yeah.
Right, exactly. It's just like when people are trying to, tell you that Laine should have been picked before Matthews.
Yeah.
And they'll point to like some microstat from when Laine played in, Finland. Yeah. It's like, you know what? Matthews is amazing. Just, that's your pick.
Yeah.
It's not that complicated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not overthinking this. The Florida Panthers are one of the most dynamic teams in a generation.
Yeah.
They score goals like teams. They're the best offensive team of the salary cap era.
Yeah.
They are dynamic.
Yep.
They're good at every position.
Yep.
Washington's old and slow. This is going to be a 5-gamer in my opinion, and I think Florida's going to win it pretty easily.
Wow. So first of all, both teams have key injuries that they are saying are going to return for the playoffs in Ovechkin and Ekblad.
Right.
So let's take them at their word and say that Ovechkin and Ekblad are in this. The one thing that the Washington Capitals have going for them, and I think that this would be good against a team like Carolina or a team like Toronto. The one thing that the Washington Capitals have going for them is that they're heavy, miserable forward core, right? Of course, led by Ovechkin, who still is just a hit-seeking missile, and Tom Wilson.
No, he's not. No, not anymore. Not anymore.
He still does it though.
Not anymore. He can do it.
It's not like the old days.
I think the X factor here is Tom Wilson, who can literally change the course of a series.
But here's the thing, right? Those guys, I mean, because Netsov is no slouch, right? Those guys are going against, I've said it before, the defense core for Florida just must get old GMs giddy. This idea of like Ben Sherratt, Radko Gudas, second pair, Mackenzie Weegar, Aaron Ekblad, first pair. It's just like, if there was one team that completely nullifies Washington's one advantage, it's Florida, because those four guys are the most miserable four SOBs in the entire NHL. You don't think?
Well, I don't know about Ekblad being that miserable.
He can be.
He can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worry about Ekblad's health all the time.
Right.
All the time.
Right.
And
go to bed.
No, but I don't do that. But
it's 11 o'clock. Do you know where Aaron Ekblad's health is?
It's always an issue. It's always an issue. But you're not going to out heavy the Florida Panthers. You're just not.
Here's the thing, right? And now there's another guy on the Florida Panthers, and he's not an X factor at all. But I bring him up because it reminds me of Aaron Ekblad. Joe Thornton in his prime did not play a heavy punishing game.
Nope.
But if he decided that you shouldn't exist on the ice anymore, he would simply erase your existence. Right? So that's what Aaron Ekblad is to me, is that he doesn't play this punishing heavy game, but every once in a while he just goes, nah, don't like you. And then just boom. Like he has that ability in him. And so we've not seen a whole heck of a lot of playoffs Aaron Ekblad, right? Like last year we saw him. And that was the last time. Yeah. That was the first time that Florida was in the Panthers in the playoffs since having Aaron Ekblad.
You sure about that?
I'm not positive.
They lost to the Islanders a couple of years ago in the.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they would have had Ekblad.
Yeah.
But my point is that we have not yet seen him not only in the playoffs but in his prime and with the surrounding cast.
Nor have we seen Barkov or Huberdeau or any of those guys really crank it up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. So I see the only real path to victory I see for the Washington Capitals in this series is, I mean, I still think Florida has a big edge in goaltending, but Sergei Bobrovsky has a checkered past, let's say.
Yeah, but I mean, he's going against like Ilya Samsonov.
I know.
Right? So like I'd be right there with you.
Yeah,
if you're talking about like Sergei Bobrovsky versus like Andrei Vasilevsky,
right. But what
I have no faith in either of them.
What I'm saying is if you make Bobrovsky a factor in this series, i.e., you plant some seeds of doubt, and you get a couple of early goals in the first game, and you win that first game, and goaltending is a factor, maybe then you can ride that.
Or maybe Spencer Knight becomes what's his name? Murray for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Why am I not thinking Matt Murray?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Bill was the only first name on the tip of my tongue there, but
right. Okay.
No, like or and Spencer Knight, he was interviewed on the In Goal magazine podcast. I remember a number of years ago, and I was impressed does not begin to describe how fascinating this young man was and just how well suited for the position he came off as in that interview. Right. So, I agree with you, but I would feel more concerned about the goaltending if you were pretty sure that the goalie on the other side was not.
Yeah. I'm not concerned about it, but I'm saying that's their only path to victory.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel like, again, I mean, there are people who analyze these things from a numbers standpoint. I don't. because they scare me. But I still think that the Washington Capitals are fundamentally flawed.
Yeah.
In several areas, and one of them is the give a shit factor. I don't think they have a high give a shit factor.
Right.
I think they're happy that they won that cup, and they're okay with it. They're okay with that being their only cup. And I've said this before, and I mean, people disagree with me.
You said this with Jeff Merrick on the podcast.
But I think all that matters in Washington these days is whether or not Ovi breaks Wayne Gretzky's scoring record.
Yeah.
I think that's all anybody cares about there right now. Yeah. And until they stop caring about that so much, and this is a team whose window's closed. It's closed as far as I'm concerned. Closed.
Yeah. So before we get off the Washington Capitals versus the Florida Panthers, speaking of numbers, my question for you is this. Can we agree that the biggest factor in the playoffs is 5 versus 5 with the whistles kind of going away?
Or 5-on-5? Yep.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
For Corsi, and granted it's just one thing, it's just shot attempts, right? The Florida Panthers are the best 5-on-5 team in the league. The Washington Capitals are the 14th best 5-on-5 team in the league, barely being above water at 50.55% of the shot attempts.
Okay.
The Florida Panthers having 56.36% of the shot attempts.
Okay.
That's a huge difference.
1%?
6%.
Oh, 6. Oh, okay.
6%. You really don't like numbers, do you?
I told you they scare me.
But, okay, so how surprised would you be if Washington came out ahead as a percentage?
85.
You'd be 80. So
90.
You give the Florida Panthers a 25% chance to lose this series.
At most.
At most.
85? What do you mean I'm giving them 25? What are you talking about with
15? We normally record these in the mornings. This is the evening. You've reached Hockey Unfiltered After Dark.
Yeah. I would
Arithmetic is gone.
If we're going to do a percentage thing, I would give the Florida Panthers an 80% chance of winning this series. And you know what? Again, I'm going to reiterate, it's not based on any of the statistics. This is just me saying what I think their percentage is. I think the Florida Panthers are going to win this series, and I think they're going to win it fairly easily. And
then I give the Florida Panthers 70%.
Okay.
No, 75.
Okay.
I'm pretty.
So we're pretty much
close.
On the same page with
so that. Now just for fun, let's look at moneypuck.com. Haven't looked at this before, giving the percentages. MoneyPuck gives them 64.9%, so just under 65%.
Okay.
So there you go.
Florida Panthers, what do they base it on? They base on...
That's proprietary. So their proprietary expected goals metric versus their Corsi versus their whatever. And they mix that all up behind the scenes, and we couldn't know that. I have no idea
what you're talking about. Don't care. Okay. That was just like a big waste of breath.
You asked.
I asked. I know. But what? Okay.
Shall we move forward?
Yeah.
Before we move forward, don't forget to check out Ken's writing, kencampbell.substack.com. We will be attempting some live watch-alongs of games.
Oh, God.
Coming up in the playoffs.
Now we have to do it because you said
it. I know. Yeah, now the internet will hold us to account. So I got to sit in your
stupid backyard and sit and watch a game with you. And,
I do have a bit...
Sit there and talk about it.
Other than my pristine grass, I've got a bit of a redneck backyard. I've got the toys and the boat. And
I'm going to be pissed by the end of the game. I'm going to drink heavily.
Anyways, so subscribe to the Hockey Podcast Network YouTube channel to see Ken get plastered while watching a game with me. And I don't drink, so there's going to be at least one sober second thought going on there. You know, maybe I'll find a thought.
Yeah, you're going to come and pick me up that night and drive me home. That's the deal.
It's good that we live about 5 minutes from each other then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the deal. All right. Let's move on to Colorado Avalanche versus Nashville Predators.
Yep.
All right. What are you thinking for the Colorado Avalanche versus the Nashville Predators? This one's a short one. There's not a lot to talk about in this one, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is one of those ones, again, where you kind of go, it might be a sneaky upset, but then you go,
Nah.
But come on.
No.
Come on.
UC Saros is injured.
Yeah.
It could have been a sneaky upset. Like, if UC Saros was not injured, then I'd be like, well, this is going to be an interesting conversation because you've got probably the Norris winner in Roman Josi. You've got a Vezina possible finalist in UC Saros. But no. I just don't, I don't know. No.
I do like what Nashville did this year. I like what David Poile did. I like the moves he made and that.
Yeah.
But
this is the way their season ends.
More importantly,
with a bang, not a whimper.
Okay.
In 4.
More importantly, I like what John Hines did this year.
Yeah.
I really like what he did this year.
He proved some coaching chops.
Well, what he did was he threw down the gauntlet with the Stars.
Yeah.
He threw down the gauntlet with Matt Duchene, Ryan Johansson, and Michael Granlund and said, you have to be better.
Yeah.
If you want to play, you want to have a big role on this team.
Yeah.
You got to be better.
Yeah.
And they responded in a big, big way.
Yeah.
So I really like what he did, but yeah.
Yeah. And in 2 weeks, he's going to say, look, if you guys want to tee off before me, okay, you guys have to play through faster.
No, what he's going to say is nobody expected us to even make the playoffs. So the fact that we did is a bit of a triumph here, even though we went out fairly meekly and fairly quickly.
If UC Saros was not injured, then I would be having, this would be a very interesting conversation.
Although you do know Nashville won 3 of the 4 games, between the two teams.
Who was the goalie of record on those games?
I don't know.
Probably UC Saros, because didn't he start like 65 games this year?
Yeah, I mean, chances are.
So, you know what I mean? Like, you clearly did this on a workhorse goaltender.
Yeah. And
anyways, it's unfortunate. I mean, I'm being flippant, right? Because it's just kind of what I do. I'm a millennial, which means that everything has to be said ironically or sarcastically.
Oh, okay.
But I'm being flippant, but it is actually unfortunate that Nashville comes across the Colorado Avalanche with an injured goaltender and not a slightly worse team with a not injured goaltender, because then this to me is the least interesting series in the first round.
It might be.
Right.
I wish I could.
You wish you could fight me on that, because you can't. This just I feel like I've basically just said a fact.
No, I wish that I could save my vote for the Norris Trophy for after this series.
Right.
Because it's going to be Cale Makar or
Roman it's going to be Cale Makar versus Roman Josi.
Yeah, I mean, that's that much is a given.
What percentage would you give if you were to put odds on this?
In terms of Colorado, I would probably say 90 to 92% chance of winning.
Yeah, it's a hefty one. Okay, so before I click over to the next thing, I say 90.
Okay,
it's just I guess there's always the chance that Colorado implodes under the weight of the pressure, but there's just too many guys to implode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of folks that'll have to all simultaneously decide to not play.
And you know what? And there's a factor here too that we haven't talked about is I am a big believer in championship teams have to take that kick in the pills.
They got it from Vegas.
They got it last year. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They got it last year.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen again. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
If these guys are worth their salt, and I think they are.
Money Puck has them at 78.2% chance. So that's pretty bloody high.
That's high. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about as high as you'll.
Considering that they're actually doing this mathematically as opposed to just us being a couple of farts throwing numbers out of the top of our head, that's pretty high.
Or a couple of farts. What's that?
You have surely heard the expression farts.
Yeah, like old farts. People call me an old fart.
Yeah, well, I thought that I would be magnanimous about this. just go with farts. I took out the old.
Okay.
That's nice of me.
All right.
That's a nice thing for me to do.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not gonna. I just got back from dinner at my mom's house. She told me what a nice guy I am, so I'm gonna project that energy for the rest of the night.
Oh, gee. So your mother told you what a great guy you are.
Somebody has to tell me.
It must be true.
I don't get that validation from you.
Told you you're really good looking too.
Okay, but she doesn't lie.
Okay.
All right. Before we move on to the next one, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube at Hockey Unfiltered or the Hockey Podcast Network. And of course, please, reviews are appreciated on Apple Podcast. And we shall move on to what everybody wants us to talk about. The Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. Before we talk about them, can I just say, when we talked about the Toronto Maple Leafs with Elliot Friedman, that video got well over 100 comments. And is
that a lot?
It's a fair bit for us.
Yeah.
It's a fair bit for us. So we need to address the elephant in the room. We're not a couple of Leafs hating Habs fans. Okay.
I covered the Leafs for 8 years. I covered them for a major daily newspaper called the Toronto Star for
Are they big?
Yeah, they're pretty big.
Yeah. They're the biggest newspaper in Canada.
Yep.
Yeah. So as for myself, I've just never been one of those fans that's I'm a fan of this team and I hate your team. I watch the game as it's presented. I've never once written an article that's blamed the refs.
Well, you know what? You know what's funny? What's funny is that, I was as big a Canadiens fan growing up as you're going to find. I'm actually, full disclosure, I'm going to Montreal tomorrow morning for Guy Lafleur's visit, for Guy Lafleur lying in state and his funeral on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's kind of a pilgrimage for me, a personal pilgrimage.
Yeah.
Because he was such a
iconic
childhood hero of mine, right? Yeah. So anyways, I was as big a Habs fan as you're going to find.
Yeah.
When I was growing up.
Yeah.
But I never hated the Leafs when I was growing up. What was there to hate? They sucked.
Right.
They sucked. You don't hate teams that suck.
You pity them.
I hated the Bruins. I really hated the Bruins.
Yeah.
And I hated the Oilers for beating Montreal out in the first round.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah,
I even kind of hated the Sabres for beating them in 72.
Right.
But I never hated the Leafs because there was nothing to hate.
Yeah.
They sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. And for myself, I was a casual Leafs fan until I started discovering goaltending and falling in love with goaltending. And of course, at that point, you just, you have to become a Montreal fan.
Yeah.
That's the law.
They've had a few good goalies.
They've had one or two good goalies. I've been very privileged to see some exceptional goaltending from that team. So anyways,
who's the greatest Montreal Canadiens goaltender of all time?
Okay, so you know why that's impossible?
Why?
It's impossible because never got to see Georges Vezina play.
Neither did I, but you can read about them. Got to see. You never watch Ken Dryden play.
These old people are always trying to get me to read all of a sudden.
You never watched Bill Durnan play. You never watched George Vezina play. You never watched Jacques Plante play. You never watched Ken Dryden play.
Right. Well, I've watched Ken Dryden play though.
Never watched George Hainsworth play. You've never watched. It's ridiculous the goalies they've had. But for me.
I mean, does it have to be Patrick Waugh?
I think it does.
I think it does as well.
It does because he single-handedly won 2 Stanley Cups.
By the way,
we're
confirming every Leafs fan's worst nightmare here because in the Leafs segment, we've gone off about the Montreal Canadiens. I think it has to be Patrick Waugh as well, but maybe I just make this its own segment.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So let's talk about
the Leafs. Okay.
Let's talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Tampa Bay Lightning.
They're gonna lose.
You see, so this is what. Let me tell you. Let me tell you what I thought was so funny. The segment that we did was you, Elliot, myself, and we talked about the series, and we didn't. Well, you've just said they're going to lose, but we didn't go that, we weren't that specific about it.
I was.
And everybody saw. No, you said if they lose. No, you said, I think they could lose. I think
they're going to lose, and I don't think it's going to be close. I think. Something like that.
Anyways, everybody in the comments read exactly what the opposite of their opinion was. These Leafs fans, and then the other people are like, these people don't give the Leafs a chance. And then, so for me, I don't know. I don't know that the Leafs are going to lose. I think that... I think Andrei Vasilevsky is the X factor. it's hard to go against him. Elliott called Vasilevsky the best playoff performer in the NHL. And it's hard to argue with that logic. That being said, like nobody in the history of the NHL, in my opinion, is a goal scorer like Austin Matthews is. Nobody. So here's the thing, right? Last year, when Matthews, there was that meme of it, right? Matthews getting ragdolled by Ben Sherratt and just laughing and smiling. They lost. Look, when Johnny Gaudreau was in the playoffs years ago and he got pushed around and they're like, well, little guy gets pushed around in the playoffs. Johnny Gaudreau can say and do whatever he wants, but at the end of the day, he's always going to be little Johnny Gaudreau, right? Yeah. And so he can talk about not wanting to get pushed around, but like there's not a lot that he's going to be able to do about it. He can get faster. He can do a lot of different stuff. But Matthews not wanting to get pushed around like he did last year. Matthews is like 6'3", 230 or something like that. If he decides that he doesn't want to get pushed around, the man doesn't get pushed around. The man will not get pushed around.
He won't?
I don't think so. And so the way that he individually scores goals, the way that he sets up his own scoring chances, I just think that he is such an individually dynamic player. You know, Ovechkin has, for the vast majority of his goal scoring, has needed a setup man. What we're watching is that Matthews this year will sometimes turn around and just say, hey, you know what? I don't want to lose tonight, and so I'm just going to score 2 goals and win. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that I just don't know any goal scorer like that with that physicality. And now he's on a line with Marner, and who can get pushed around. But Bunting
left practice today, eh? He's probably not playing game 1.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this is breaking news to me.
He's probably not going to play game 1.
Really?
In fact, he may actually be like a no for game 1.
Wow. Okay. Well, that kind of blows what I was saying out of the water. But anyways, Matthews, Bunting, Marner is a line that does not get bullied. Tavares is a guy that does not get bullied. Nylander's a guy that does not get bullied. The thing is that the Montreal Canadiens were able.
I think you can bully those guys, and I think it's been proven in the past.
Yeah,
I think you can bully those guys.
The past is the past.
Yeah, I know, but the past is just 10 months ago. It's not like, I mean, these guys still have to prove it.
Yeah,
and to me, there are 2 things that are going to decide this series.
Yeah,
goaltending.
Yeah.
And toughness.
Right.
And by toughness, I do not mean fighting. By toughness, I mean digging in and playing playoff hockey.
Yeah.
The Maple Leafs are harder to play against.
Yeah.
They're a tougher opponent, no question about it.
Yeah.
They're not Tampa Bay Lightning tough.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is going to drag this series. And Sheldon Keefe even said it himself. He said today that they're preparing for it to be a borderline violent series.
What's the borderline?
Yeah. But to me,
we don't expect any fatalities per se.
To me, if as I suspect they will, Tampa drags this series into the gutter.
Yeah,
Leafs are in trouble.
So
they're in trouble. They are in trouble.
I agree. Yeah.
Because, I
don't know,
because Wayne Simmons can't be a factor in this series. Kyle Clifford won't play.
No, I agree with that.
Jake Muzzin is coming off an injury. He's their toughest guy. Jake Muzzin is probably their toughest.
Giordano's no slouch, though.
No, he's not,
old, but he's.
But I'm willing to say pound for pound, and just in terms of just overall toughness,
snarl. Yeah,
Jake Muzzin is the toughest regular they have on their roster, and he's been hurt half the time.
Yeah,
I don't think what I think about this series is. I think the games are going to be close, and the series won't.
Do you remember
I think it's going to be 5 games.
Do you remember your favorite tournament of all time, the 2016 World Cup of Hockey?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah.
Sarcasm for those that didn't hear it. I remember that Team USA tried to drag Team Canada down into the muck and tried to.
That was all Brian Burke. He built that team, and
John Tortorella coached it.
Yeah.
And they had no time for 40 goal scorer Max Pacioretty. They're like, he's got to be.
Yeah, let's take Justin Abdelkader instead.
Yeah, well, they had Pacioretty on the team. They didn't even bring Kessel.
Right.
And then they called out Pacioretty several times for not being tough. Anyways, whatever. Let the goal score goals. Anyways, my point is that at one point there was a insane hit from behind on Shea Weber. It just completely wiped him out. And then I forget who the player was that did that, but he got his comeuppance. Somebody took a number and somebody just wrecked him along the boards. Yeah. And it was a clean hit too. It wasn't in the numbers. It was a clean hit. And you know who that was that wrecked him? It was John Tavares. And that was the moment where I was just like, that guy might have a little bit more fire in his belly than I ever gave him credit for.
Well,
and you see it come out once in a while. He didn't have a chance last year. Anyway,
no, he didn't. But to me,
for a stupid accident.
To me, for an accident. That's exactly what it was. It wasn't intentional. Yeah. We all know that.
Yeah.
To me, I if I were Sheldon Keefe, I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have said anything about it being borderline violent. I would have just said, "Hey, we're going to go in and we're going to try and play the game. Like, you are what you are."
Yeah.
You are what you are.
Yeah.
Like, does anybody really think the Leafs are going to all of a sudden become this battle-hardened bunch of grizzled veterans that grind their way through a series?
Yeah.
Like, does anybody think that?
Yeah.
They're not. And they aren't, and they won't become that. And they can't turn that switch on overnight.
Yeah.
What they got to do is turn this into a track meet. Turn it into a goal fest. Turn it into last team scores, last goal wins.
Yeah.
That's what the Leafs have to do to win this series.
Yeah. But that'll never be the series with Andrei Vasilevskiy.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
I think he's a bit vulnerable this year. I don't think we saw even the close to the best of Andrei Vasilevskiy this year.
Yeah.
And I think he could be vulnerable that way.
I mean, I wonder if we're watching the next phase of his career, though, because there was a moment where Carey Price basically just stopped getting shutouts, because if the game was 2-0 and the other team had pulled the goalie and they're pressing, Price would look at a puck beside him and go, "Nah, I'm not getting that. I'm going to pull my groin. Forget it. This isn't worth it. We're going to win." And so he almost just stopped getting shutouts because it looked like because he just wouldn't put his body in a vulnerable position.
Yeah.
And yet remains possibly the best playoff performing goaltender, right? When you look at every series that he's performed in the playoffs, he's performed exceptionally well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if we're looking at that with Vasilevskiy. I wonder if we're looking at Vasilevskiy just turning around and saying, I'm not going to hurt myself. I'm not going to kill myself in the regular season.
Well, I think that's the whole Tampa
mantra
template.
Yeah.
That's the whole Tampa template. I think there were times this year when they were playing at like 80% at most. Down the stretch, they were very good. They were very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, they played all their guys. They played all their guys in that game against the Islanders. I think it was the Islanders.
Yeah.
The last game of the season on Friday night.
Yeah.
They played everybody. Stamkos had a hat trick.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's another guy. That I think is going to be a big time difference maker in this series.
Yeah. He's a good player.
Yeah, he is.
But we forget that though.
No, well, I didn't this year.
No, but a lot of people do seem to forget that.
But for me, Steven Stamkos has had better statistical years than this year.
Yeah.
I think,
but injury.
For the full body of work,
for
what he did this season, I think this season was the best season of his career.
Yeah.
He was a driver. He was like a big time driver this year.
Yeah.
When they needed, when Kucherov was out, when Point was out, they needed somebody to step up and drive it.
That's never been his bread and butter.
Drive it, which he did.
Yeah.
And he went he could have sulked and said, "Screw you, you put me on the wing. I don't want to go back to center now." What did he do? He went back to center, had a great season.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a real force in this series.
Yeah.
And I just, like I said last week, the Toronto Maple Leafs have built the best regular season team they've ever had.
Yep.
Like, not just in terms of points, in terms of winning percentage.
Yep.
None of those, like the three teams that won in 62, 63, and 64,
Yeah.
Never had this winning percentage.
Yeah.
67, obviously, they were big underdogs the whole way through.
Yeah.
But they had dynasties in the 60s and in the 40s.
Yeah.
And they were never this good in the regular season.
Interesting.
It's the best winning percentage they've ever had.
Yeah.
This might be the best team they've ever had.
Right.
And it's not going to be their fault. If they lose, it's not going to be their fault.
Okay, so before we get to assigning a percentage of how we think that they're going to do or what percentage we think, we did have a quick Twitter question that I think dovetails into what you were just saying.
Okay.
EZ Daddy 79. I know I do the Canadian thing.
Yeah, that's good.
EZ Daddy 79 says, if the Leafs lose in 7 in the first round or second round, would that still be a moral victory? Looks like they have to run the gauntlet more so than in other years, which is exactly what you're saying, is that it's basically not their fault. This is the hardest Eastern Conference. This is the hardest Pacific Atlantic Division, pardon me, the other ocean.
Ever.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. There is
ever.
Yeah. So, is it still a moral victory if they lose in 7?
It might be, but does it even matter if it's a moral victory anymore? Like, does it even matter?
It won't to Leafs fans.
It won't to Leaf fans, and
it wouldn't to me.
To me,
yeah,
this would be the year when you would least be justified in making sweeping changes.
Right.
If they lost.
Yeah.
Like, if they lose 4 straight and they lose by 3 goals every game, okay, then something's wrong. It's broken. Fix it. But if they hang in there for 7 games and they lose a couple of games in overtime, and they lose to the 2-time Stanley Cup champion who just happened to have the best goalie in the world, and some incredible depth up front, this would be the year when, excuse me, a little burp there. Sorry.
Even your Diet Cokes.
To me, this would be the year.
You don't burp with coffee.
Okay. I'll believe you. I don't drink coffee. But to me, this is the year where they've where you would forgive them for losing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
What they did last year was unforgivable.
Right.
It was unforgivable.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Losing to Montreal after being up 3-1, that was unforgivable.
I look at that as losing to Carey Price, though. Like, to be honest, like, even a friend of mine, like, I kind of was giving him like the little consolation speech because he lost a very, very small but token bet with me over that.
Right.
And and I was saying, like, dude, like, Carey Price just took the series from you, and he didn't give it back.
Right.
And sure enough, he was editing some footage on that series just recently, and kind of texted me and was like, you know what? I'm watching this and there's like 9 or 10 guaranteed goals.
Yeah.
Like, just anybody could have scored that. I could have been on the ice in my street shoes and scored from there that Carey Price robbed. And so I don't know if it's unforgivable last year.
It is. It is in my mind. It's totally unforgivable. You have a 3-1 lead. You
bury it.
You bury it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And this year someone's probably going to pay. And it's probably the least justified that it would have ever been. That's
fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we move on to the Minnesota Wild?
I don't know. Are we doing that percentage thing?
Oh, yeah, we're doing that percentage. Okay, What do you give them?
I'm more definitive than the other guys are that we're talking about. I'll say 58-42 for Tampa.
Oh, okay. I was going to say 48 for the Leafs. So that's 52.
Yeah, 52-48.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, that's fairly close.
You're a lot less definitive than I thought you were going to be. I thought you were going to start talking like Craig Button. I don't even think they're going to win a game.
Yeah, no, I would not be shocked if the Leafs won this series.
So
I don't think they're going to win it, but it wouldn't shock me.
Now let's be clear that this is based on regular season stats that go into this winning percentage. And the Tampa Bay Lightning clearly did take it easy for a lot of the regular season. So let's just be clear on that before I say this. According to moneypuck.com, the Toronto Maple Leafs have a 66.5% chance of winning this series.
That's stupid. And I didn't even mean to make you laugh. That's just stupid.
Write a letter to them.
How can anybody give the Maple Leafs 2/3 chance to beat the 2-time Stanley Cup champion?
Because of what I just said.
Yeah, I know.
It's going by regular season statistics.
Okay, but that's just dumb.
Well, the exception that proves the rule. Okay. Maybe. But anyways, right. I give the Leafs 48% chance. It would be the most mild form of surprise if the Leafs won that I've ever had. I'd be like, oh, hey,
Yep.
Now I'll go and troll Leafs fans on Twitter for sure. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm like the least trolly person on Twitter that you've ever met. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Shall we?
Where are we going now?
The Minnesota Wild versus the St. Louis Blues.
Okay.
Before we dive into this conversation, don't forget to check out kencampbell.substack.com for more writing. Lots of great stuff there. And, check us out on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. Reviews, people. We've got like no reviews still. We get tons of listens and no reviews. One person reviewed us.
Oh, okay.
Who said that we were energetic.
Really? Okay.
We're no Howie Cosell sports show. In the beginning,
Howard Cosell.
Howie is what I said.
And you said Howie Cosell. It's Howard Cosell.
I feel like I said it just fine.
No, you didn't.
You didn't even
Nobody ever called him Howie.
People called him Howie.
Cosell, not Cassell.
I said Cassell.
No, Cosell. Co. Okay, let's move on. Let's just move on. I gotta feel like if I was watching this, I'd be hitting that 10-second button every time.
every 10 seconds.
Get through this moronic chatter. Get to the good stuff.
All right. Well, let's phrase this because we got a question on Twitter about the Minnesota Wild versus the St. Louis Blues, and I think that it does a good job of encapsulating what the conversation is. Blaine Potvin _THW on Twitter at Blaine Potvin _THW says, "How does Minnesota overcome the Blues, who have been dominating the Wild for the last couple of years?"
Wow, I mean, that's a good question, and they didn't dominate them this year. They went 3-0. One of them was the outdoor game. They won 6-4 and then two overtimes. Yeah. So it's not a total domination.
No. It's more of a minor domination.
This one here is a coin flip as far as I'm concerned.
You see, I'm a lot higher on Minnesota than you are.
I feel like Minnesota is that gangly guy that skates weird but gets a lot done. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really figure out why.
Are you comparing yourself to the Minnesota Wild?
Yeah, I'm gangly. I'm 5'6" and gangly. Yeah, that's me. Okay. And I said, get stuff done. I don't know. I mean, you can't really put your finger on why they're so good, but they are. They're really good. I think that, they've got the requisite toughness now.
Yeah.
I think that Bill Guerin's addition by subtraction,
right,
really worked in that it allowed guys like Ryan Hartman and Marcus Foligno to take greater roles on this team. And they did that. And, Marcus Foligno scored 20 goals this year.
Yeah.
And he was a force, Then they go out and get Nick Delorier. I think they've got that element to their game.
Yeah.
But to me, I mean, I'm picking St. Louis in this series, by the way.
Oh, nice.
By a very slim margin, just because they've got 4 lines that just are so solid.
Yeah. You can have 4 fourth lines. That's fine.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I got to say.
Vladimir Tarasenko is a 4th liner.
All right.
Sure.
Whatever.
Pavel Buchnevich is a 4th liner for sure. Yeah. Jordan Kyrou, Robert Thomas, who had up more than a point a game this year.
Okay, all right.
Probably the quietest, more than point a game guy in the NHL this year.
Okay, so we've already discussed that I can be at times a tad flippant.
Yes.
But here's what I will say. The St. Louis Blues have at 5 versus 5 a 47% Corsi for, good for 25th in the league. That's terrible.
Okay.
They also have a 47% expected goals for, good for 23rd in the league. That's terrible. Do you know statistically why they're winning games?
Because they're scoring.
They have the best shooting percentage in the league.
Oh, okay.
They have the best shooting percentage at 5 versus 5 in the league.
So why can't that just keep going?
Because in the playoffs, guys are putting their bodies on the line a lot more to prevent those good shooting percentages.
So everybody's shooting percentage goes down. So they'll still have the best shooting percentage.
Okay, so I was expecting that. Now, let's look at the Minnesota Wild. Mm-hmm. The Minnesota Wild have a Corsi for percentage that puts them at the 11th best in the league. So not bad. Top third, right?
Yeah.
They have an expected goals for percentage that puts them at the 6th best in the league. Not bad. Do you know who has the 2nd best shooting percentage in the league? The Minnesota Wild. Okay. So the point is that the Minnesota Wild are converting at almost the same shooting percentage that the St. Louis Blues are, except that they're also getting more chances and getting better quality chances by the Corsi and expected goals for percentage. So not to get too nerdy here, but I'm taking Minnesota by a lot.
Oh, are you, eh? Oh.
Yeah, I'm taking Minnesota by a lot. The only thing that's nagging, that's gnawing at the back of my mind is that whole thing that Minnesota has not yet gotten stomped in the playoffs. That's the only thing that's nagging in the back of my mind. Well, and a team like St. Louis would be the team to do it.
They better do it this year because next year they got $12 million coming off their
14 million, I think,
14
or something.
the next two after that.
Yeah.
So they better do something this year.
Yeah.
They better bloody well do something this year because it's going to be it's going to be some tough times.
They don't have the luxury of getting smacked down once or twice before learning how to win in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's my point, is that the one thing that's nagging in my mind is that they don't have that history in the playoffs, and a team like St. Louis, big, heavy, mean, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Is exactly the kind of team that gives other teams that kick in the pills in the playoffs.
Yeah, they're a good pill kicker team. But you know what? And like, okay, so is goaltending a wash? Because Marc-Andre Fleury has not been spectacular.
So here's what I'll say.
The stretch. He has not been. He's won games.
Yeah.
He hasn't been good. Like, he's kind of not good, I think. That's what the numbers bear out, don't they?
I don't think that goaltending could possibly be considered a wash. I look at it as just which Marc-Andre Fleury shows up.
Well, but the other side too.
No, Ville Husso.
Oh, you're just assuming it's him and not Binnington, right?
I'm fairly... yes, that is actually my assumption.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's had a fairly consistently, call it above average season, in my opinion. Okay. Right? Like, look, I haven't watched every game. I've watched some, right? And, so I'd consider myself moderately informed. And I'd say that he's had a consistently above average season. So I look at him as being that guy that he'll give you what you need. He'll make all the saves that he's got to make in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And I look at Marc-Andre Fleury as being a guy that can either steal a series or simply give it back.
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's the series. Enjoy.
Yeah, I won game 2 and I'm giving you game 3.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't feel like goaltending could be a wash. I feel like it is either going to be excellent or terrible for the Minnesota Wild.
Okay.
And I feel like St. Louis is probably just going to have pretty decent goaltending.
Okay.
And even if Ville Husso does fail and Jordan Binnington comes in, it's not the worst thing in the world. I think he's an incredibly overrated goaltender. But I love his spot.
Is it just a given that Husso's their number one guy and he's the guy?
In my opinion, it is.
Yeah, but
in my opinion, it is.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Okay.
Anyways, okay. So putting a percentage on it. What do you?
Well, I'll go the lowest I can go, 51-49 for St. Louis.
Ooh.
St. Louis in 7.
Okay, I'm saying Minnesota. And I'm saying that Minnesota, I give them a 65% chance of winning.
Okay.
Let's jump over to Money Puck. See what the other nerds have to say.
Well, if they're going by regular season, they're going to be picking St. Louis.
69.4% chance.
For St. Louis or Minnesota?
For Minnesota.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I thought you said they did all the regular season stuff. They lost all 3 games.
Yeah, it doesn't. But I'm talking about like their advanced metrics for the regular season. Anyway,
well, maybe it wouldn't be the first time I've been out to lunch, and so maybe
it won't be the last.
Maybe I am.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the people. If you're watching this, before we get on to the next segment, if you're listening to this, don't take it too seriously. It's hockey. We're sitting here in my garage at 9:53, just shooting the breeze about hockey. It's supposed to just be fun.
Jeez. Let's get moving.
Let's get moving.
Yeah. All right, hockey fans, the pursuit for the Stanley Cup is on, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer for the most exciting playoffs in sports. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. Looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during the playoffs? With DraftKings same-game parlays, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more. It's your shot at an even bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now using promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply.
Carolina Hurricanes versus the Boston Bruins.
Yep.
What are you thinking?
You have any idea how?
No, not for anything.
What the goals for and against were between those two teams this season?
No, actually, I don't. I can't wait for you to tell me.
16-1 for Carolina. 16-1.
Is that good?
Well, one of the games was the Tuukka Rask game where he kind of realized it was over.
Right.
And they lit him up for, I think, 6, and then Ullmark came in for 2. So
that was nice.
So half of those goals are from that. But
6 is not half of 16, but go on.
No, I said Ullmark came in and gave up 2 more.
2, yeah.
So 6 plus 2 is 8, and that's half of 16.
Oh, half of them is that game, not the Tuukka Rask thing.
Okay, that game Bruins gave up 8 goals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
8
they gave up total.
No, I understand
16.
where you're going here.
Yeah. You do, eh? Oh,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
well,
yeah. It took me a little while.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You think very quickly, Ken.
I do.
Yes.
That I do.
It's why you hate golf.
Yeah. See, I'm kind of torn on this. I think Carolina's going to win this series.
Yeah.
I like that Boston did that savvy veteran move of staying out of the Atlantic Division. Yeah. I really like that move.
Yeah.
I think that was really smart.
Yeah.
It's weird because another if guy
is
Freddie
Anderson.
Frederick Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that doesn't play into Carolina's favor.
Yeah, I know.
He's crappy.
It's kind of an addition by subtraction
He's crappy
situation.
In the playoffs. Yeah. And you know what? The Bruins must be just tossing a salad and making a dinner in his kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they've beaten him twice. They've beaten him twice in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And both times you could say bad goaltending in game 7 was a big part of it.
Here's the thing that I'll say about Toronto and specifically the whole goaltending things, right? So because Jack Campbell let in a softie at the end of game 7 against the Montreal Canadiens last year, right? Frederick Anderson let in some softies in game 7 and even going back to James Reimer letting in a softie in game 7 twice, right?
Okay.
If you're in that situation, and then, of course, going to Marc-Andre Fleury for the Golden Knights last year. Mm-hmm. If you're in that situation, most of those times, except for the first time with James Reimer and the Boston Bruins that were like the President's Trophy winner that year, I think, or eventually won the Cup that year, I should say. If you're in that situation,
not
where you're in game
Toronto.
7.
Not against Toronto. They didn't win that year. That was 2013.
Yeah, that was with James Reimer.
Yeah, but they didn't win the Cup.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. They went to the final. That's right. But I'm just saying, if you're in that situation where you're facing, other than that year, an inferior team, and it goes down to one shot in game 7 deciding, you've already lost. You've already lost. And so with Freddie Anderson, a team that's going to give him run support and a team that's going to, hopefully make it a situation where it doesn't come down to the game on your stick and some ridiculous 2-on-1 or something like that at game 7 in a tied game. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully it doesn't come down to that for Freddie Anderson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if he even plays.
Right.
I actually said that I thought Carolina was going to win the series. I actually have the Bruins in 7 in this series.
Oh, okay.
Carolina doesn't have a game breaker. They have no game breakers.
You don't look at Sebastian Aho as a game breaker?
finished 30th in NHL scoring this year. They
NHL
didn't have a
scoring was up.
They didn't have a top 25 goals. They didn't have a top 25 scorer in the league.
Yeah.
They had one in the top 50, and it was Aho, not Aho. Aho.
I you know what? I go back and forth because I figure that I'll get it right 50% of the time.
There's a guy. There was a guy that there's a Finnish newspaper called Ilta Salamat who has a guy in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
And he covers the NHL.
Yeah.
And the guy they had previous to the guy they have now, he used to drive him nuts. He'd say, "Oh, these people calling him Sebastian Aho," and he'd put on this like North American accent. So, anyways, they don't have a game breaker.
No,
they're
deep.
The Bruins, they're
so
real deep. They're real deep. Yeah,
the Bruins have 3.
And the Bruins have a bunch of them.
They have 4.
3, yeah.
If you say Pasternak, Marchand, and Bergeron and McAvoy can all be game breakers.
Right. And Jake DeBrusk can do stuff, and Taylor Hall can when he feels like it.
I don't look at Jake DeBrusk and Taylor Hall as anything close to a game breaker. If you're gonna say that nobody on Carolina is a game breaker,
but to me,
we can't put Jake
not a game
DeBrusk
breaker,
there.
but a difference maker.
Yeah.
Because I think Jake DeBrusk is the kind of guy that
he can be. He's a good player.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take anything away from Jake DeBrusk.
Yeah.
Or Taylor Hall for that matter. But
and Jeremy Swayman's really good, eh?
He's pretty good. I mean, I'm curious as to how he's going to look in the playoffs. You know, he might fold like a cheap chair, or he might take that ball and continue to run with it.
Yep.
Right. I want to pick Carolina. I
do too, but I'm going to pick Boston in 7.
I'm taking Waddell's squad, and I'm giving them 52%.
Okay. I'll take the Bruins and give them 53%.
Easy with these hot takes here, Ken.
Yeah.
All right, and I will tell you, Money Puck has Carolina. No, Money Puck has Boston at 55.5%.
Wow, that's high, eh? That's pretty high.
So Money Puck has Boston winning the series.
Do they know that they got outscored 16-1 by Carolina this year? Do they know? Like, are they aware? Like, are these
Probably
guys
doesn't
aware
factor.
of that?
Probably doesn't factor in.
It doesn't?
No, I
Okay.
don't. I doubt it. I doubt it. I don't know. I'm not. I don't work for Money Puck. They, if they want a genius intellect of this level, they're going to have to pay up tens of dollars.
It's going to cost them tens of dollars.
It's going to cost them tens of dollars. All right, shall we move on?
Yes. Are we going to Calgary, Dallas, or Edmonton?
Calgary Flames versus the Dallas Stars. Before we get started on this, don't forget hockeyunfiltered.substack.com. Leave us a review, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Write us a message. We read them. We'll ignore them later, maybe. As long as they're mean. If they're nice, we won't. Mm-hmm. Calgary Flames versus Dallas Stars. I mean, it's just the Flames, right? Like, all due respect to what Dallas has done. Like, and that is another situation, much like Colorado, Nashville, where you just go, oh man, good for you, Dallas. Sorry, pal. Get them next year, sport.
Yeah.
Although next year, they're just a year older, right?
Oh, they have some good prospects.
Yeah, well, that's true. We talked about
some really good
some
prospects coming up. Yeah.
Crazy prospects coming up.
So
no, oh my goodness. Is there how much breath do you want to waste on this?
Not a lot. I mean, I think the Stars.
Daryl Sutter's got a heck of a team going.
Going to this series, I think the Dallas Stars are sitting there going, yep. Remember what they say? Defense wins championships. Defense wins championships. Defense wins championships.
Yeah.
Let's just go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the Flames, with a full season of Daryl Sutter, who has been able to instill in them that their work ethic has to match their talent.
Yeah.
They were a kind of a perimeter team before.
Yeah.
They're not anymore.
No.
They're not anymore. They go to hard areas. And,
Yeah.
And Johnny Gaudreau is the best 5-on-5 player in the NHL this year.
Currently, yeah.
Yeah. I don't see much of a path to victory.
Yeah.
For Dallas, other than let's just create the biggest mess we can here.
Yeah.
And destroy a masterpiece and see if we can pull this out.
So take this with a grain of salt because they do start a lot in the offensive zone. But I'm only looking at the top 64 defensive pairings in the NHL in terms of their time on ice played, so that I'm not getting, a defensive pairing that played like 4 minutes together and then put up great numbers. But for the top 64 defensive pairings in the NHL for time on ice, the best Corsi for percentage pairing was Eric Branson, Nikita Zadorov.
Wow.
Okay, the best.
They probably start every time in the offensive zone.
They start 60% of their faceoffs in the offensive zone.
Right.
You know who the 8th best is?
Oliver Shillington and Chris Tanev.
Noah Hannafin and Rasmus Anderson.
Right, okay.
Right? And then the 12th best is Chris Tanev, Oliver Killington.
Shillington.
I'm so sorry. It's right on the paper. I still read Taves as toes sometimes, like just on the paper. Like it's not, anyways, whatever. My brain, when it works. But my point is that there's 3 pairings in the top 12.
Yeah.
Out of 64 pairings, Ken.
Wow. Yeah, okay.
Your 3 pairings are in the top 12. Mm-hmm. So, I bring this up because you made the point defense wins championships. Dallas is going to be telling themselves that. Yeah. Hello, there's your defense.
Yeah.
There's your defense. And these guys are good, man. These guys are so good.
They're excellent. They are excellent. Chris Tanev was such an incredibly good sign.
Man, what a score.
All Chris Tanev ever does, everywhere he goes, is make the other guy look better.
Right.
That's all he does.
Yeah.
That's all he does.
That's like the old Andre Markov joke.
It happened with like Quinn Hughes. And it's happened all over the place with guys. And then he comes in and everybody's like, Oliver Shillington seems to be this guy that has a whole bunch of skill and raw talent, but can't figure it out. He starts playing with Chris Tanev.
Hey, who we should put him with?
He figures it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he figures it out.
That's like the joke about Markov back in the day. He had like 3 defense pairing partners win a Norris.
Yeah.
Never won a Norris.
Yeah.
Well, let's see here. No, not to say that his partners were bad, but I mean, hello, right? So, I say Calgary by a country mile. By a Daryl Sutter country Jolly Rancher mile.
Jolly Rancher, yeah.
That's such a good nickname for him.
That actually might be the greatest nickname
of all time.
Ever.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's really good.
The Jolly Rancher.
It's really good.
Yeah. Let's see. Can I deliver what I think will be the final result in my Daryl Sutter impression? I think we're going to win the game in 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 games. We'll probably win the series.
I don't think he's going to say that. Is he going to say that? Dallas?
No, he's not going to say that. I'm saying that for him.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's.
You think 4 games, eh? You think so?
Oh man, it's hard to predict a sweep. It's a bold prediction.
I don't want to do that because it's Dallas. All
respect to Dallas.
Yeah.
And then your forward core is better.
I got the Flames in 6.
Your forward core is better for Calgary, but although not by much. Your defensive core is better by a lot.
The forward core in Calgary is better by way more.
Well, okay, sorry. I don't want to say not by much, but it is to say that Dallas has a very good forward core.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a weakness of theirs.
They have trouble scoring, boy.
So your forward core is better as Calgary. Your defensive core is better as Calgary, and your goaltending is better as Calgary. Mm-hmm. So, what's there to talk about? So I give Calgary 80%.
Okay.
What do you do?
I will give Calgary 65%.
Ooh, you're getting more and more conservative as the night wears on. Moneypuck.com says, ho, pow, Calgary at 80.1%.
80.1. Maybe I should bump that up a little bit. Nah, whatever. Who cares? Nobody's going to remember this 10 minutes from now.
I will be tweeting out all of these 10 minutes from now.
Okay.
All right. Shall we move on?
Yes.
All right. New York Rangers versus Pittsburgh Penguins. Second to last one.
Yep. The Rangers owned the Penguins this year.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't own them. They didn't hone them. You know what that's from?
No.
Who owns the team? You don't know that?
No.
You haven't watched Slapshot?
That's been on my list for so long, but I can't convince Tanny to watch it with me. And I'm like,
you don't watch Slapshot with your wife? What are you doing?
I'm from the Mighty Ducks generation. I apologize.
I don't even know what to say. I feel like leaving right now. I just feel like getting up and leaving. Not only have you not watched Slapshot, you're like, yeah, I can't watch it because I want to. No,
I just
my wife won't
do
watch
movie night and order pizza and watch Slapshot.
It's not a period piece, Dylan. I know you got to sit through crap like that because I got to sit through crap like that. I had to watch the piano, for God's sakes. I knew that her leg was tied to the piano when they threw it over the side of the boat. I knew it. I hated that movie. Holly Hunter just going like this and being mad the whole time.
I've never watched it.
I hated that movie.
I've never watched the piano.
It. But I would never make my wife watch Slapshot with me.
All right.
This is an outrage. Anyways, one of those nights where we sit in your driveway full of like boats and motorcycles and shit, we're gonna watch Slapshot, okay? Good Lord.
Look, it's not a full redneck backyard because all of the boats actually run.
Yeah, right. And there's no broken down cars back there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although, man, I've almost bought a couple over the years. But all right, here we go. New York Rangers versus Pittsburgh Penguins. How do you see this going?
I see this going the Rangers' way.
Really?
I do.
Yeah?
Yeah. I feel like the Rangers just have something really special going.
They got a secret sauce going on.
They got something really special going.
Yeah.
Like, and like, I know their metrics are bad.
Their metrics are not just bad. Their metrics are abysmal.
Right. They got good players, man.
They do have good players. Yeah.
And their goalie's the best one.
Yeah. So I basically look at it as, you're right. They've got some excellent players. They are not yet molded as a team, in my opinion, which normally is what contributes to bad metrics. I mean, it's why Montreal going down the stretch started winning games but still had bad metrics, because individual players were putting up good performances as opposed to a team performance. And I think that becomes much more important in the playoffs. And the Pittsburgh Penguins have what I think might be the most impactful pickup at the trade deadline in Rickard Rakell.
Oh, yeah?
Don't you think that
in terms of statistics? Like, I don't know.
No, just in terms of winning them games. Like, doesn't he just come off as like a playoff guy?
Not particularly. No.
All right.
Well, I don't know. Maybe he does.
Anyways, I think that the Pittsburgh Penguins, I think that they're a good team. I think that I've doubted them more than enough over the course of like the last 10 years, as have so many people. And I think that in the playoffs, when the checking gets tighter and the individuals won't be able to break through as much, the only X factor is goaltending. But if Pittsburgh, Shesterkin's still so young. Yeah. If Pittsburgh, like you said about Bobrovsky, if Pittsburgh can put a little bit of doubt into Shesterkin's mind, they might be able to pick him off. They might be able to pick him apart. And so I just, I look at them as just the better team. New York will be the better team. New York will be the better team, but I don't think it's their time yet.
See, I think as great as Pittsburgh has been, and I mean, they obviously have some of the best all-time greats that have ever played this game. Yeah. And Chris Letang's been ridiculously good this year.
Yeah.
I just think if they're going to win this series, they're going to have to grind this one out.
Well, but that's what they do. They're a grinding team.
By the end of that series, Brian Dumoulin's going to be like parts are going to be falling off, and they're going to they're just going to put tape on and twine and put them back together. Yeah. So we'll talk about Brian Dumoulin's broken body when we're talking about the second round, and Pittsburgh Penguins have progressed to it. Okay. I mean, the only question mark is, of course, goaltending. Tristan Jarry. I don't know. I'm not. Shesterkin has one playoff game to his credit. One. Okay. So he's got experience. Tristan Jarry is one of those goalies that throughout his ups and downs, I've never been completely sold on. But he's hurt. Like, he's probably not. I don't think he's starting the series. No, but Pittsburgh is giving the same line that every other team is given, which is that they hope that he will be in the series. Yeah. So I've just been making my predictions based on
taking teams at face value, which of course we know that we shouldn't.
It's really too bad because Tristan Jarry does the way Tristan Jarry played this year.
Yeah,
he deserves a chance to redeem himself from last year's disaster.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But I think, to me, I think that Jarry not being 100% or available, I think it kind of swings the pendulum
towards the Rangers. What percentage you give the Rangers?
I'll give the Rangers a 57%. No, 55% chance.
That's funny. I'm going to give the Pittsburgh Penguins 55%.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sold on the Pittsburgh Penguins,
I'm giving
right?
The Rangers 55. You're giving the Penguins 55.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we just.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, wow. Money Puck gives the Penguins 64.2%.
My goodness. Wow. Well, it's numbers based, right?
It's numbers based.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So. Hey, look, take it for what it is, right? But
then you hear afterwards, oh yeah, well, analytics had a bad playoffs, Yeah,
I know, but this is the thing though, is that you can talk to any actual good numbers guy, and they watch the game.
Yeah.
It's only that there's a few turds on Twitter that kind of, act like analytics is everything, and then the eye test crowd dunks on them, and then what I mean. It's just what Twitter is. It's just a way to dunk on people,
Twitter's
right?
A cesspool.
Twitter is a cesspool. All right, the last playoff series and possibly the most interesting one, in my opinion, the Edmonton Oilers versus the Los Angeles Kings. I told you something about this series on the phone that I'm going to bring up later.
I don't remember, but so it'll be.
You'll bring it up because it'll be in your subconscious. You'll steal my take.
Yeah.
Edmonton Oilers versus the Los Angeles Kings.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say.
And I was going to say that. Two best offensive centers against the two best defensive centers.
You prick! We're not the best hockey podcast, but we're the most honest hockey podcast. Yes. So here's the three best offensive centers in the game are in no particular order: McDavid, Matthews, Draisaitl. Right? Like, I don't think
in order. They're Matthews, McDavid, Draisaitl.
Okay.
This year.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'd say that. I'd maybe still put McDavid as a step above Matthews offensively, but either way, look, those are the three best.
Okay.
Two of the three best are on the Edmonton Oilers.
Yep.
The best defensive centers in the game, no particular order: Patrice Bergeron, Anze Kopitar, Drew Doughty. Drew Doughty. Philip Deneau.
Like, what are you talking about?
I've got Doughty on my list in front of me as for something to talk about because he's injured. But anyways, so Philip Deneau, Kopitar, Bergeron.
Drew Doughty, who just became the second coming of Red Kelly. They moved him to center, and now he's going to be a Selke Trophy
Listen,
winner.
man, that joke was just me trying to become the second coming of Red Skelton. Pow! Got him. Two Reds. So, but my point is, you got two of the three best offensive centers versus two of the three best defensive centers in the game.
Yep.
And I mean, championships tend to be won and lost down the middle, right?
Yep.
This is a really interesting one for me.
It is. It really is.
Right now, Doughty is out.
Yep.
And I think that very much hurts the Kings' chances.
It really hurt. I mean, as good as Bjorn Fott and Dursey and those guys have been.
Yeah.
Not having Drew Doughty is probably the killing blow.
Second best Corsi for percentage of this top 65 defensive pairings is Drew Doughty, Mikey Anderson.
Yeah.
That's good.
And he played all year with Mikey Anderson.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And he was outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think that really kills it. I mean, obviously, goaltending is the big question mark. Mike Smith has been better down the stretch, but goaltending is a big question mark, right?
It is.
Edmonton's playing well.
Very well.
Their new coach has them going in a good direction.
Well, since they got Evander Kane and Jay Woodcroft, took over behind the bench, they've been one of the best teams in the NHL.
Right. And so the only advantage that I see that the LA Kings have at this point is I've got more trust in that one of Cal Peterson or Jonathan Quick will pull out a good series than I have of Mike Smith. But I don't know. I mean, like, it would not shock me if Mike Smith just decided to go on an insane heater in this series and put up a 940.
Yeah.
It really, like, my jaw would not hit the floor. You know, so boy, that's a toughie. It's a toughie, but I'm going with Edmonton. I think that Edmonton's going to win this.
I agree. I agree. I think, like I said, or what I'm going to say in my playoff preview I'm posting tomorrow, the Kings will be a tough out, but they'll be an out.
Well done. Well done. So,
and you look at Edmonton, right? And everything this year in Edmonton is colored by that terrible, terrible streak that they had.
Mid-season slump.
And there were a couple of things that were really bad about it. The first of it, the worst of it, I think, the thing that magnifies it so much is the fact that it was over December and January. Mm-hmm. And that was when all kinds of games were being canceled. They had to shut down for a while.
Yeah.
Everything. And it just, the stink just hovered over for a long time.
Yeah.
For like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
You play all those games in the compressed schedule, that's like a 2-week slump. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was like 6 long, stinky, awful, depressing weeks where, people, Jim Matheson was asking Leon Draisaitl why he's so pissy and all this stuff. And it just. And
then they bring in Evander Kane and they fire their coach and they say, that's a good point that I didn't really think about, because you're right. The amount of games that were actually played in those 6 weeks, the amount of actual hockey that was played, it was a regular mid-season slump that got blown way out of proportion.
Yeah, and it was over a long time. And before that, they were amazing. And after that, they've been really good. Like before that, their power play was one of the best in NHL history.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the doubts that creep in for Edmonton, and I don't think this series is going to be as close as you do.
Right.
I think the doubts that creep in with Edmonton are due to that streak this year, and I think,
big event bias is almost what it is.
They were full marks for being lousy. Like they were lousy during that streak, but I think that it's taken on more of an importance than it should.
Yeah.
And I think they're a better team than that.
Those are excellent points. Before I make my kind of final point on Edmonton, Darnell Nurse, Evan Bouchard, 5th best defense pairing by 5 versus 5 by everything that I gave you from before.
Evan Bouchard was excellent this year. Yeah.
So, and like, that's good. Mm-hmm. It's really good.
And what makes it better is Darnell Nurse is a cyborg.
Yeah,
like exactly. He can play the whole game almost.
Yeah, exactly.
For every game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he can play.
He had 30-minute games on a regular basis. Yeah. So, no, I mean, I agree with you.
What's his health situation?
I didn't see anything.
I thought he was banged up, but I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Because he's a cyborg.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'll say is that I don't think there's any goaltender that I have less of a handle on than Mike Smith.
Okay.
And I don't think that it's anything like, I don't think that's a huge hot take or anything. I think that just at his age, it's just, a tweak that might not nag at a goalie who's 27 is going to nag at a goalie who's 40.
Right.
Hello.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But we saw Marty Brodeur take the New Jersey Devils, one of the less good iterations of the New Jersey Devils.
Less good.
to the
to the Stanley Cup final.
To the Stanley Cup final at 40.
He was 40, eh?
He turned 40 in that playoffs.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's, this is not without precedent, right?
So Martin Brodeur is going to be 50 this year. Are you sure? I don't think he was that old in 2012. But you might. Well, when was he drafted?
He was drafted 90.
90. So he was 18 and 90, 72. Yeah, you're right.
Boom.
You got it.
Yeah. I'm going to put that on repeating GIF. Just you saying I'm right.
Okay.
So, all right. Before we give our odds, actually, let's do that after we give our odds. Just a quick Twitter question on the Edmonton Oilers.
Okay.
What do you give your odds for the series? I think that we're both thinking Edmonton. What do you give the odds?
I'll give them 65. 65. Yeah, 65.
Okay. I give them 60.
Okay.
I give them 60. Going to moneypuck.com. Edmonton Oilers has 56.6.
Okay.
So we're not crazy off on that one.
Wow, I'm off by a lot from them. I'm like almost 10%.
That's one of the closer ones. Actually, I got it between to 0.1% on the Calgary one. But other than that, yeah, that's what we call an anomaly. So before we get off the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings, EZDaddy79 on Twitter, at EZDaddy79, Big Nickel Girl Dad, says, how far can Edmonton go?
Oh, boy. No, it's just I'm looking to the second round.
Way to go, Daddy.
Battle of Alberta.
Oh, that would be sweet. Oh, man. But you know what?
We're owed that. We are owed that. The hockey gods owe us that series.
The thing that I'll say about that is that Edmonton will be beat up in the second round from their stint with Los Angeles.
No, they won't.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
You don't think that Doughty and Deneau are going to be... Jeez.
Kopitar and Deneau?
Kopitar and Deneau.
But they're not that kind of wear down guys. They are subtly though. They are subtly. They do it by angling and with good sticks and good minds and all those things. They don't like wear you down. They're not like no, I think they're going to be fine.
Because going into Calgary, that is physical.
I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, who would you pick in a battle of Alberta right now?
Calgary.
I'd probably pick Calgary.
Yeah. I don't even think
based on that last game when they outscored Edmonton 9-2 at 5-on-5.
Yeah. The thing is that like I'll never forget, I played on this hockey team and we were just a terrible team. We were just like a terrible, terrible team. And so we got in the change room, everybody's all sullen. And one of the guys says, we're not a very good defensive team, are we? We got like 70 shots on us that night. I was completely gassed, right? And the other guy goes, well, yeah, I mean, that's true, but we're not much of an offensive team either. And then the third joker in the room, there's always one good joker, says, fellas, it's come to my attention that we might not be much of a team. And so that's like the opposite of the Calgary Flames, where it's just like they're a pretty good defensive team. The only thing that's as good as their defense is probably
their offense.
Their offense. Yeah. You know what's actually pretty much as good as their defense and their offense? Their goaltending. They just like, where do you find the weakness? Like, I have not been a Calgary believer for years and years, but when I look at this iteration of the Calgary Flames and the way that Daryl Sutter has them playing, what do you point to say that they're not? Like, what weakness do you point to?
History.
History.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, they got guys who have something to prove.
Sure. So let's say that Johnny Gaudreau gets taken out of these playoffs like he did last time he was in the playoffs. Gee, I'd be ashamed if they had like a Tyler Toffoli, one of the most proven playoff wingers, of this generation in their lineup. So, they've got the depth to overcome that. Okay. You can't pick one guy. Yeah. Anyways, I'm just saying. I'm a big Calgary believer this year.
Okay.
All right. Was that it?
I think that's everything.
That was a long one.
Yeah, it was.
All right. Well, thanks so much for sticking around to the end of this episode. Check out kencampbell.substack.com for Ken's excellent writing. I myself am a subscriber. And please give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Leave a comment on YouTube. We read all of them. Some of them give us a chuckle. Some of them really hurt, guys. Come on. Okay? And, of course, check us out on YouTube, Hockey Unfiltered. And, of course, the Hockey Podcast Network. Thank you so much for sticking around, and we'll talk to you next time.